few seconds ago, this giant squid looked like a wild creature from the deep sea. Now it is clean, sliced, seasoned, sealed, and moving down a Korean packaging line in perfect rows. The change is hard to believe. Smooth steel, cold water, sharp blades, fast hands, soft steam. Every part of the process is controlled. Every cut has a reason. This transformation does not begin with the package. It begins much earlier, when enormous squid arrive at a Korean seafood factory still heavy, wet, and fresh from the sea. That is where the real story starts. Before the slicing, before the drying, before the sealed packs. First, the factory has to turn something huge, slippery, and unpredictable into something uniform, clean, and ready for mass production.
The body is thick, the skin is tough, the tentacles are dense. Each section has to be separated cleanly.
Once the squid enter the main processing floor, the work becomes more careful. Giant squid are not handled like small fish. The body is thick, the skin is tough, the tentacles are dense. Each section has to be separated cleanly. Korean factory workers begin by opening the mantle and removing the inner parts. Then the skin, the cartilage, and any remaining impurities are cleared away. It is a wet job, but it is also precise. The goal is simple: keep the meat clean, keep the texture smooth, keep the size consistent. This is the moment when the squid stops looking like a sea animal and starts becoming food. The shape changes, the surface changes. The factory begins to impose order. Now the factory begins the first real transformation. Clean squid meat is useful, but it is still too large and too uneven for packaging. So the next stage is all about shape. Some giant squid are cut into rings, some are sliced into flat sheets, some are scored into patterns so the surface will hold seasoning better later. Tentacles may be trimmed into shorter portions. Thick mantle meat may be split into smaller layers. Korean factories do this for one reason: consistency. If every piece cooks differently, dries differently, or absorbs sauce differently, the final product will never match. This is where seafood becomes standard, measured, repeatable, ready for machines. By now, the giant squid has lost its original shape, but it still has almost no flavor. That is why the next stage matters so much. In many Korean seafood factories, giant squid is seasoned before drying or cooking. The pieces may be salted, rinsed again, then mixed with red pepper, garlic, sugar, soy-based sauces, or spicy marinades depending on the final product. This is where the color begins to change. Pale white becomes glossy orange or deep red. The smell changes too. Clean sea salt gives way to sweet heat. The squid starts to look familiar, less like raw seafood, more like the packaged Korean snack or side dish people actually buy. This is the stage that changes the texture for good. Moist squid can spoil quickly. Dried squid can last, travel, and sit on store shelves. So Korean factories use controlled heat and air to pull moisture out without destroying the meat. Some products are lightly roasted. Some are dried slowly in warm chambers. Some are pressed and stretched while still soft. Timing matters here. Too much drying and the squid turns hard. Too little and it stays wet. The goal is a balance between chew, shine, and shelf life. This is where giant squid stops feeling raw and starts becoming the snack people know by touch alone. Drying is not the end. The product still has to be shaped into something the market expects. Some giant squid is shredded into thin snack strands. Some is cut into bite-sized squares. Some is torn into long strips and coated again for extra flavor. At this point, the factory is no longer handling a raw ingredient. It is handling a commercial food product. The decisions are now about appearance, portion size, and texture. How thick should it feel? How glossy should it look? How much seasoning should stay on the surface? This is where the product becomes recognizable. A bagged Korean seafood snack. Neat, shiny, uniform.
First, the dried European flying squid is portioned. Then the packaging film forms around the product.
Now the factory reaches the stage most people never think about, even though it is the part they actually see in stores. Packaging. This stage protects the flavor, controls the moisture, and gives every pack the same weight and shape. First, the dried squid is portioned. Then the packaging film forms around the product. Air is pulled out. The pack is sealed. Some lines use vacuum packaging. Some use gas flushing to protect texture. Either way, the goal is the same. Lock the product in before the outside world can change it. What began as a massive animal from cold seawater is now becoming a shelf-ready Korean snack in clean plastic rows.
By the end of the line, almost nothing remains of the chaos from the beginning. The slippery weight, the rough sorting, the cold wash.
By the end of the line, almost nothing remains of the chaos from the beginning. The slippery weight, the rough sorting, the cold wash, the careful trimming. All of it has been reduced to order. Uniform cuts, controlled drying, measured seasoning, sealed packs. Korean factories do not simply process giant squid. They translate it from sea life into product, from irregular flesh into standardized food. That is why the final reveal feels so satisfying. You are not just looking at seafood in a package. You are looking at a chain of decisions, a system, a transformation measured in texture, temperature, timing, and repetition. What makes this process so impressive is not just the machinery, it is the rhythm between people and machines. Korean factory workers inspect what machines cannot fully judge. Machines repeat what human hands should not have to repeat all day. One side handles touch, texture, and judgment. The other side handles speed, pressure, and precision. That balance is what keeps the product consistent from the first pack to the last. And in a seafood factory, consistency is everything. The sea never delivers two giant squid that are exactly the same. The factory has to correct that, quietly, repeatedly, every shift, every tray, every sealed pack. In the end, that is the strange beauty of a factory like this. A giant squid arrives as something wild, heavy, and difficult to control. It leaves as something exact. Clean portions, stable flavor, predictable texture, ready for a shelf, a shop, or a table. Most people only see the package. They never see the water spray, the trimming knives, the drying racks, the rollers, or the sealing bars. But now, you have seen the full path. From raw giant squid to finished Korean packaged seafood. Not magic, not mystery. Just process, discipline, and thousands of small decisions repeated until the result looks effortless.